From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
How y'all are? Hey, Cajun Rob here hanging out with you. I got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Chad Hoover. Hey, how's it going, Chad?
Throw a hat on so I don't blind y'all.
No, you're good, man. And it's funny, Chad's kind of got storms in his area, and I got storms in my area, so hopefully we keep your signal going, hopefully. So fingers crossed. But
Cool.
For those that don't know, Chad's kind of been in kayak fishing for a long time, and he's kind of head over to KBF, and I'm proud to be a member of a couple, 2-3 months. And the more I get into kayak fishing, the more I love it. But Chad, you want to kind of go over your background, how you got into kayak and kind of where you at today? I know that's kind of a long time, but folks that don't know and don't know your history, you want to share with us real quick?
Yeah, I've been kayak fishing a little over 30 years in November. I got into it while I was stationed in Corpus Christi. Kind of grew up in pirogues and canoes and flat bottom boats and stuff, being from Louisiana. So when I saw a sit on top kayak, the light bulb went off immediately. And I thought I had found like the Holy Grail and like a secret that nobody else knew, kind of a thing. But as I started to kind of look around and see, actually back up a little bit, I was crazy that I've been in all the places that kayak fishing blew up, almost like Where's Waldo. I was out at a conference in San Diego, and I saw these guys fishing out of kayaks about 9 months before this happened. And it made me start thinking about it.
Yep.
So then fast forward, I'm in Corpus Christi, and I'm doing guided trips to make money to pay for college on the side. And I'm literally guiding people either in a little small flats boat, or I'm taking them to the Padre Island National Seashore and I'm driving them down the beach. And when we see fish in the surf, we're jumping out and, casting plugs or spoons or top waters or whatever to these Jack Crevalle, skipjack, or even, Magnum speckled trout. And then I started catching tarpon in the surf, and nobody had caught tarpon in that part of Texas in a long time. So it kind of helped my profile blow up a little bit when they put me on the cover of one of the magazines. So I get a bunch of people to book me on these trips, and we're going down the beach, and I see this guy paddling out. There's a Jeep parked in the sand. It had a captain's chair, like from a offshore boat, welded to the hitch receiver. And I look up and I see his tip kind of going like that. And I look, and then I kind of figured out, oh, dude, he's paddling out his bait. So what he would do is he would catch bait and he would cut it up and wire this multi-hook rig together, paddle it out about 400 or 500 yards to where the shelf was, drop it, and then he would paddle back in. He would get in this fighting chair, and when he would hook up with these big sharks, he would fight them. But if he was about to get spooled, he would clip a carabiner to the front handle of the kayak, turn and drive down the beach and just drag this kayak along behind him. And so we stopped, and he had hooked up with this big shark within, 5 minutes. And I said, hey, man, we're catching a bunch of skipjack. He's like, oh, dude, the next skipjack you catch, save them for me. So I was like, man, there's a pod about a mile back down the beach. So my clients for this trip were all like Chinese guys. It was like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
4 of them. And one guy was like the interpreter, and the other guys didn't even speak English. So I said, hey, do you guys want to go back and catch some of those skipjack? And then we'll bring them back for shark bait, and you'll see him catch a big shark. Oh, he told them. They're all excited. So we go back down. We catch a bunch of skipjack, throw them in a bucket. We bring them back to him. He's like, oh, my God, these are the best baits ever. And while we're talking, he hooks up. And then the spool is almost doing this disappearing act. This thing is like, and he's like, gotta go, grab my kayak and just hook it to your truck. I'm like, what the hell? So he takes off. We grab the kayak, hook it to the bumper, dragging it down the beach. I was like, I don't have anywhere to put it. He's like, just drag it. Okay. So we catch up to him. He's fought this shark, lands this shark. These clients of mine are super like blown away. It's like a 11, 12 foot tiger shark that he had caught on the beach. So we take a bunch of pictures with it and stuff, and I complimented his kayak. I was like, dude, that's pretty cool. That'd be fun for fishing in the flats with. So we exchanged phone numbers and such, and this is way before cell phones. So I come home from work one day, and I got the little blinking light on the answering machine, and it's him saying, hey, man, if you want that kayak, give me a call. So I called him. I said, look, man, I'd love to buy the kayak, but I only got like $100 to my name right now. And he's like, I'll take it. I'm like, no, I don't have $100 to spend on the kayak. I got $100 to my name. He's like, dude, just come over. Here's my address. And, so he gives me his address. This is before you could text somebody. You had to write it down and you had to figure out how to get there. So anyway, so I go over to his house. We meet. He's like, man. I said, look, dude, I stopped at the ATM. Say I had $100. I had $100, which after the fee, I could only get out 80. He's like, I'll take the deal, man. I'll throw in the paddle, the PFD, and that rod. And so I'm not kidding you. I stopped at a pawn shop on the way home, sold the rod for $120, drove back and gave him his 20. And I started off with a kayak that I technically made $100 on the deal. And I took that one out, and within the first 100 yards, I flipped it. Over the course of that day, I think I flipped it 2 or 3 more times. And I really just started using it as like a wading tackle box caddy. I would hook it to my belt, and if I needed to get over a channel, I'd jump in it. And then I started wanting a better kayak and a little faster. So I went to this shop in Corpus Christi called Wind and Wave, and I traded them out that boat for a little bit longer boat. But none of them were made for fishing then. They were all just like surf and recreational kayaks. And then as the story goes, I got involved with design with a couple of companies. I happened to be in aviation. I was going to school at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And when I started getting into the design phase of helping design kayaks, this program popped up at Embry-Riddle called Cockpit Design and Ergonomics. So I was like, hell yeah, that's right up my alley. So I jumped into it. I learned about, a lot about anthropic models and how you figure out distances and rate, all this, the concept of sitting positions and creature comforts and all that stuff. And I'm like, why don't we apply that to kayaks? And then I started telling kayak companies, we need to make the seats move. And back then that was like a foreign concept. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we need to make the seats go up and down. We need to make them go back and forth. And long story short, that was kind of my segue into the game. And then at the same time, I was a photographer, and I was really using that as my creative, like artistic outlet, because I'm an artist. And so I'm like an artist and an engineer, which is like the weirdest combination of people. That's why I'm always at odds with myself. And so that really played well into getting relationships with companies, because back then there weren't a lot of quote unquote outdoor photographers. Most of the outdoor photographers were more like landscape and wildlife. But I'd really took photography seriously, had really high-end cameras that I'd paid for because I was active duty Navy, and just started taking really good pictures. And one of the companies that I worked for was like, hey, we'd love for you to go do a shoot. Or one of the companies I was sponsored by said, hey, what would it take for you to get your photographer to go do a shoot? And I said, what do you mean my photographer? They're like, whoever takes all your pictures. I was like, I take my pictures. And they were like, they're like, no, we mean the good ones. And I'm like, what the hell? So long story short, I was like, every picture that you're talking about, I took. Well, how did you take the ones of yourself? I was like, with a remote and a tripod. She's like, you're taking that good of pictures of yourself? I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, Chad, I got to call bullshit, because I'm going to this one thing and there's a lure flying through the air. So how the hell did you take that? I was like, I set the shutter up to, aperture priority. I set the shutter speed and timing. I put it on a tripod and I set it to rapid fire. And then I just cast at it and I get the perfect shot and pick it out of the mix. And it takes me sometimes hours to get that one shot, but I'm out there and I'm committed to it. And she's like, holy crap. Long story short, she's like, well, we have a budget of, I think back then it was like $4,000 to do this shoot. And I said, wait, $4,000 to go on a shoot, but I also get to fish? She's like, yeah. I said, so let me get this straight. I get to go fishing and do photography in Florida. You're going to cover my travel expenses and I can make $4,000? She's like, yeah, Chad, that's not that much. And I was like, shit.
Back then it was.
It was like $1,000. It was about $1,000 more than I was making in the Navy at that time. So I was like, hell yeah. As they say, the rest is history, because that was one of the first true money things that I made in the outdoor industry.
Right.
And I thought, damn, if I really apply myself, I could totally do this. Started doing that. And then I started doing video. because this is the stupidest way that I can think of, that I know of, that anybody ever got on YouTube. You know how when baseball players like film themselves batting so that they can watch it to find holes in their game? I was filming myself frog fishing so that I could figure out what I was doing wrong with my hook set or where I was losing fish, and so I could slow it down and figure that thing out. And I was very involved in rod design with G Loomis at the time. So I was trying to see where the rod performance might lead to either keeping the fish hooked up or losing the fish. And I just was hyper focused on that. So I put a camera on the back of my kayak and started filming it. And I showed a buddy a video, and he's like, you should put that on YouTube. So I went and looked at YouTube, and YouTube back then was literally just people getting hit in the balls or stuff blowing up. That's about it. And I was like, I ain't putting this crap on YouTube. Well, fast forward about 6 weeks later, one of my sponsors hears about the video, but back then, even the smaller video files, which was like maybe a meg, right? You couldn't email them and you couldn't transfer them. And I was like, well, I can put it on a disc and mail it to you, or I can put it on a CD. He's like, why don't you just load it to YouTube and send me the link? I was like, okay. I was trying to make this guy happy because I wanted to stay involved in this this rod design deal. So I load the video up to YouTube, figure out how to make a YouTube account, load the video up. But I didn't, back then it wasn't as easy to differentiate between private, unlisted, and there was no scheduling. It was either public, private. I think it was only public or private. I don't even think they had unlisted back then. Well, the default setting is public. So I just hit upload. The video uploads. I click the link and send it to him. He watches the video and goes, dude, that's awesome. I didn't think anything of it. And this YouTube channel doesn't exist anymore because when I partnered with the production company to do my TV show, we created a new YouTube channel, which is the one I use now. But on that YouTube channel, I kind of forgot about it. And then one day somebody called me and said, dude, I saw your video on YouTube. I said, which one? That one of you frog fishing. And I was like, oh, shoot, really? Yeah. Dude, that thing's got like 30,000 views. I was like, what? So I went and looked at it, and he had seen it earlier that day, and now it had like 37,000 views. And, you know, that's not viral, but by back then standards, it was a lot of views.
Huge. Yeah.
And I thought, well, damn, if I can teach people what I'm trying to learn while simultaneously putting the videos out there, and I thought the comments were in the right vein. It surprised me that the comments were intelligent, that people were actually using YouTube to learn. And I thought, damn, this could be the world's next best search engine.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the light bulb went off that like, this might be the best video transfer portal ever, because you can load the video and send somebody a link. You don't have to figure out how to get high resolution videos to somebody.
Yeah.
So it was a happy accident. And as they say, the rest is history. And somebody commented in the comment section of one of the videos, like, damn, dude, you should write a book on this. And then fast forward 2 years later, I wrote a book called Kayak. We did a DVD that was going to go with the book, and my production company sent it to World Fishing Network to say, hey, could we run this as a commercial to help sell this book? And then World Fishing Network was like, yeah, but why don't we turn this into a show? This is awesome. And then they, as they say, the rest is history. So,
yeah. Man, that's neat, man. I mean, everything kind of lined up, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's timing. I mean, being right time, right place. I mean, that's awesome.
I've got the best luck and the worst luck in the world. I got the best luck in fishing and in outdoor stuff, and then the absolute worst luck with like women and relationships. So,
yeah, I'm with you, man. I got me and you've got the same luck in same situation.
Just pretty much decided I'm not good at that, but I'm pretty good at fishing. So I think I'll just focus on fishing. You know what I mean? And after I catch a fish, I can just look at it, say thanks, and let it go. You know?
Yeah. Next one. Go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And stay out of trouble.
It's way less expensive.
Yeah, and a lot less drama.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand, man. I'm on marriage number 3. It took me 3 times to get it right. So
Here's
hey, I
what my
understand.
here's what my here's what my conversation looks like. Hey, dude, what do you think about going fishing? Bro, that sounds like a good idea. Sweet, let's go. All right, I'll help you load. That's it. I don't have to. I don't have to talk to anybody.
Love it, man. Love it. Can't beat that.
No.
But but I know you've seen a lot of innovation, a lot of things. What do you think some of the major kind of milestones in the kayak, like in design and like, well, it's been kind of some of the major milestones you've seen over the time as long as you've been in it, you think?
So I developed this acronym because I was in the military for so long, and we use acronyms. And I was
Yep.
writing down the notes on a phone or on a phone note one time, and I realized, oh shoot, that makes an acronym, makes a word. And I didn't even have to change the order of it. So I wrote down the importance of features to fishermen, kind of in the order. Now, I
Yep.
had done 300 or 400 trade shows at this point. I'd owned a kayak shop for a couple of years. Like, I had all these customers asking me questions. I had a big social media following, so I was interacting with a lot of people. So the number one thing that people ask for is stability.
Yep.
So the acronym is scrape. So what I say is, before you scrape your money together to go buy a kayak, consider these factors: stability, comfort, riggability, affordability, performance, and then everything else. And the everything else includes transportation, storage, like all the stuff that's related to the kayak that's not related to using it or fishing from it. But if you look at scrape or scrap, even if you want to drop
Yep.
that E and not worry about that, people almost care about performance last. So when we started making the kayaks wider and more stable, that was the first move in the direction to where people have more confidence in fishing
Yep.
kayaks. And then I say stability, but that also turns into standability. But
Yep.
standing actually hovers between stability and comfort. And I'll talk about that as I move into comfort. So
Yep.
stability is the number one thing. People care the most about stability. Then they care about comfort. When we went to the frame seats, the elevated seats, the seats that could move, you could get in a position to where your legs weren't straight out in front of you and you weren't sitting in a half crunch all day. Because when you're in a half crunch, you're scrunching your shoulders, your
Yeah.
back, your neck, your everything is flexed. Once you get to the point where your legs are going down like they are in a chair, your heels are below your knee, your knees below your hips are under your shoulders, so you're not lean back. You're now like you're sitting in a chair, more like
Yeah.
you drive or like you fly an airplane. But comfort also relies on standability, because no matter how comfortable the seat is, if you can stand up, you can stretch your legs, you can stretch your back, you can move around. And what people don't think about is, when you stand up, you're kind of doing this a little bit, whether
Yeah.
you realize it or not. And so you're never standing like you would be if you were standing on a hard floor. You're constantly able to
Yep.
move around a little bit. So it's active standing, is what I tell people.
Yeah.
That gets your blood flowing again. It gets the pressure off your sciatic nerve. It gets your joint mobility going. It gets your core engaged, but you get off your butt and you're not sitting. So if you can stand, you can be more comfortable. So I say stability and comfort, and then standability straddles the line of both of them, because standability is a factor of stability, but it also makes you more comfortable. Because if you've got the best chair in the world and you can't stand, I would rather be in a halfway comfortable chair and can stand for 4 hour in a 4 hour trip than be in the most comfortable chair in the world, but over 4 hours I can never stand. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So, so then I say riggability, meaning, what can you outfit the kayak with? Can you put graphs on it? Can you put power poles? Can you put motors? Can you put all of the, the little accoutrement that we have become accustomed to in the bass boat world that we can now bring over to kayak fishing? Then affordability. But I tell people that affordability is a factor of what you're trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
affordability doesn't mean cheap. Affordability means, is it the right price for what you're getting, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, performance. But performance is based on one of the three P's: paddle, pedal, or power. So don't think of a kayak from a performance standpoint about how well it paddles if you're going to put a motor on it. And don't
Yep.
think about how well it's going to paddle if you're going to pedal it. And then don't think about how well it's going to pedal if you plan on paddling it. So you have to decide what your primary form of propulsion is, and then find the kayak that's going to perform best under those circumstances, and then determine what your secondary propulsion is. If your primary propulsion is a motor and your pedal drive is your backup, cool. Think about performance that way. If your primary propulsion is a motor, but if it fails your paddling, then think about performance from that standpoint. And so, yeah, everything else is weight, transportability, loading and unloading, where you're going to store it. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but these people up north have this thing called seasons where they stop fishing. That's a foreign concept to me. And I go, wait, fishing season? What are you talking about? You mean you quit fishing? That doesn't make any sense. That's a concept that we don't understand down here in the South, because there's fishing highs and lows, but there's never like an off season.
No.
So, but those are factors you have to factor into account when you're looking at your lifestyle. What is the everything else? What are you going to do with that kayak when it's not on your truck? If you don't have a trailer, are you going to have to run the gauntlet of loading it and unloading it, where you add an hour to the beginning of every trip and an hour to the end of every trip? Because if you do, you'll talk yourself out of half the trips that you will ever go on, you know? Now, don't take this advice if you want to stay married, but I had this philosophy that if I got to go home and run the gauntlet of getting in and out of the house to go fishing, I'm going to fish about half as much as I normally would. So I kept my stuff on my truck, in my truck, to where I at least had my stuff ready. But the number one thing I didn't have to do is go home to get my stuff to go fishing. Now, I did it for a living, so it's different. But if you stay ready to go fishing, you never have to get ready to go fishing. And if you don't have to get ready to go fishing, you don't have to ask anybody's permission to go fishing. So for me, I would always rather beg forgiveness than ask permission. Instead of me saying, hey, babe, I think I'm going to go fishing, I would wait until she said, where the hell are you at? And then I'd say, I'm fishing. And then she'd go, oh, I really wish you would have told me. And then I would say, I do it for a living, so you should have known. And then she would say, but it would still be nice for you to tell me. And then I would be like, why don't we just not play this game? Because if you know I fish and I'm not home, you should assume I'm fishing. So why do I got to tell you? Communication means you tell somebody something, but if you want me to fake it, I will. So to me, it just was like, I justified fishing as a priority because it's what I did for a living. Could I have been more communicative and sensitive and all this other stuff? Yeah. But the problem is, if I text you to say, hey, I'm going fishing, I'm still telling you. But if I say, hey, I'm thinking about going fishing, I'm giving you the option to tell me not to. But then if I do it anyway, now I'm an asshole. So to me, I'm less of an asshole if I just go fishing instead of telling you that I'm going to go, or asking and then you say no and then I go anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Or it's like, well, how long are you going to be? Well, depends how the fish are biting.
Well, and I'll tell you that she learned really quick early on that when I would say I'm only going to go a half a day, and then I would leave at like daylight, and at like 2:00, she'd be like, where are you at? I was like, fishing. I thought you were only fishing half a day. I'm like, half a day is 12 hours. She's like, oh, you MFer. You know what I mean? But,
you can't win, man. You can't win. Luckily, I got a patient woman that understands my obsession, and she lets me go. It took 3 times, but she's cool with it. So get lucky every once in a while.
Mine is too. She's sitting right here. I'm like, hey, what do you think about going fishing? Listen, no resistance, no pushback. Yep. Hey, tomorrow I'm thinking about going fishing. What do you think? Cool. Sounds good. See? Works out.
I hear you. But hey, well, get lucky. Hey, we got a quick comment from a buddy, Jose Cinco. He says, yo.
What's up, Jose? I just saw him at Red Crest like.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool deal.
He was actually in my booth. So I do this thing where I flip lures during shows, and I like hide the lure behind a trash can or behind a column or under a truck. And then when I pull it out, people freak out and like women jump and scare them and kids follow it. I am not kidding you. And he can make a comment back to confirm this. I would literally have some of the best scares in the world. He would walk up and people would still be laughing from the last scare. He would slide over to the side and start filming, shut down everything. Nobody would react. I'd see like a perfect woman coming, scooted across there, and she'd just look at it and keep walking. It was like his camera was like a force field that shut it down. I'm not kidding you. There was one time he like turned to walk away. I could still see him walking away. I flip it out there and this woman like does the heart touch. Oh my God. And the whole thing, she looks at me. Oh, you scared me. And I'm like, dude, he's in sight. But as soon as he turned that camera on, over. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he commented back. He said, nobody was scared when I was around.
Exactly. It was the craziest thing. That even people that you would think like fickle old like women would be like, oh, look at that. But before they'd be, yeah. So it's one of them things to pass the time and it's fun. But yeah, when Jose was around with the camera, crickets, nothing.
Just silence, just dead calm. Oh, I hear you.
Mm-hmm. We're just looking at each other.
Yep.
He's got the camera.
Heard it. My good friend John Adams chiming in, says, good afternoon, guys. Hey, Mr. John. Hope you're doing well, John.
Good afternoon.
Yep. But I know you had a big thing. I've watched one of your lives, like your podcast, about the weights, like the kayak weights. You're trying to get like a standardized, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of guys don't know that you take the weight capacity of a kayak and you got to take off the weight of the kayak, weight of the seat, and all that.
Well, stop the presses, because now half of them do it that way and half of them don't. So here's what I'll tell you about it. I just decided about a year ago that it is no longer my job to fight all these battles.
Yep.
So I thought I somehow anointed myself like the guy that's got to be the guy doing all that. Now I just want to go fishing, make cool opportunities for my members, broker great deals with great companies for the great community, the greatest community in fishing that we have. I'll put the information out there. I'll contact the brands, but then it's up to them what they do with it, right? So, for example, I contacted Old Town. I contacted Confluence, which is Pelican International. They own Wilderness Systems. I contacted Crescent. I contacted Old Town, Vibe, Feel Free. I contacted every major brand that I could. And I tried to get everybody to come to a general consensus. And about half did and about half didn't. So more companies now are not putting the weight of the kayak into the capacity, because that was a way to kind of
boost numbers, or kind of
like inflate the number artificially. Yep. I really think the standard should be usable capacity. Here's how much usable capacity the boat has. There was a boat released today, 2 days ago. A guy named Alex Fogaria, who's got a YouTube channel, kind of leaked it, the Smalley from Crescent, and he tagged me in the post asking about the weight. So the owner weighs in and is like, hey, I really wish you would have waited till tomorrow. We worked really hard on the release video and all this other stuff. But I called the Crescent rep right before I responded and said, hey, I just want to make sure we're on the same sheet. You guys do not include the weight of the boat in your usable capacity. So the usable capacity seems low because you're saying 385. But if you look at some of the other brands out there and you factor in that they're adding the weight of the kayak, it's about the same. And so to me, there should be a standard. Yeah. I made the video about it. I'll make another video about it. But really what I'm going to do moving forward is I'm going to pose the question. I'm going to identify the issue. And then I'm going to let the companies do what they do. If they don't respond and they don't react, they can deal with the consumer fallout. It's just not, I can't be Atlas holding the world up anymore thinking I got to do everything. And it's also just not my job. My job is to inform, entertain, and educate, and then advocate for my members. That's it. So
but you got them thinking and say, oh, wait a minute now, so you got them thinking, you got them aware now. So you honestly, did that.
3 or 4 companies responded and actually updated the way that they do it. So that's a win, right? Yeah. We overuse the phrase game changer. But the very fact that we posed the question and the community reacted and started demanding that the companies clarify their position means that we got a pretty good chunk of the major brands to do it. So we changed the game. We changed the way that they market and promote their boats and manipulate the numbers. I don't want to use the word mislead, because here's the problem with using that word. They're not so much misleading. They're just figuring out the best way to say it so that their product looks comparable to the competition who's also doing that. So as long as everybody's telling the truth the same way, then it's good. Or everybody's lying the same way, it's good. And I hate to even use the word lie, because it's not lying. It's just that you got to dig down to the bottom and find the little asterisk that says, total capacity includes the weight of the boat. And here's the defense of that. The total capacity of the boat is its ability to float itself plus some other stuff. So technically that is part of the capacity. But I think usable capacity should be the standard. We don't really give a flying flip as consumers how much it can float plus the boat. We want to know how much shit we can put on it, and ourselves included as part of that shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's really it. So
yeah. But you got the conversation and the people thinking, okay, now so that's a win, man. That's awesome. And
incremental change.
Game
of inches, a little bit at a time, and we'll get there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I said you got the thinking. Everybody's got their thinking caps on, and the wheels are turning. So hey, that's a win.
The biggest thing we accomplished is we made the consumer aware of the fact that there are different ways to do it, so they at least look at the brand that they're in, so that they're not part of the misinformation. Because there's even a lot of pro staffers that were like, "Hey, our kayak has a 450-pound capacity. Cool. Hey, I'm 350. Sweet. You got enough room to carry 100 pounds of gear." No, the boat weighs 100 pounds. You've got zero capacity. You can carry a sandwich.
And one rod, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the conversation got started. It went somewhere. It's actually back on the agenda for a recircle, I think in May. We're going to bring it back up in May. When we do the video on flipping the kayak over, when we redo the flipping the kayak video, we're going to redo the video on weight capacity. Talk about the progress that we've made. There's still more work to be done. Encourage people to reach out to their manufacturers, talk to their dealers, give them feedback that how you would prefer to see it. And then we'll maybe slowly but surely make some more come on board.
Oh, absolutely, man. But you step in the right direction, and it's going that way. So
imagine if you walked into a boat dealership, right?
Yep.
And they had a Ranger 21 foot, 2160, 21 foot, 60 inches wide, right? Let's just say that was a thing. I don't even know if that's a right model number. A 21 foot boat is probably wider than 60. Let's just say, for example, that's a boat.
Yeah.
Let's just say you walked in there and you said, "Hey, what's the capacity of this? What's the weight capacity of this boat?" And let's just say the boat weighed 1,500 pounds, but you could carry 600 people and gear. They said, "Oh, it's got a 2,200 pound capacity." You'd be like, "Holy crap." But would you ever think that means you got to subtract the, 1,500 pounds of the boat? No. So to me, we should be going after standardization just like the rest of the marine industry does it. And that's not something they do. They don't, include the weight of the boat. So yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I like that term, usable weight. I like that term.
Yep, usable capacity for sure.
Yep, put everybody on the same level playing field, just all the way across.
Yep.
And got a quick question from your boy Jose Cinco. He says, "I am looking to get back into kayak fishing. What do you recommend I look at, Chad?"
Well, first call me and I'll help you. But secondly, I tell people this all the time. I am sponsored by companies because they use their product. I don't use their product because I'm sponsored by it. And not to sound like conceited or whatever, but with the amount of work that I've put into this industry and the amount of impact that I've had and the recognition that I have, I could paddle or pedal anything I want to.
Yeah.
But I choose Bonafide because they're the most comfortable, the most comprehensive for me. And in the last 3 years, we've introduced a number of models that I think make us the most comprehensive line of kayaks on the market. So from top to bottom, from the entry level boat all the way to the new XTR 130, I think the Bonafide is the most comprehensive, most complete lineup of boats with good price points and good performance characteristics. We've got a river boat. We've got a skiff for saltwater fishing. We've got a general use entry level boat called the RS 117. We've got the SS 127 that I fished out of for over 6 years. Then we went to the PWR that was designed to be more conducive to motorization. And then ultimately the new XTR, which is, arguably the biggest gap bridger between what's a kayak and what's a boat. I still think it's vastly superior to a John boat or to a small skiff in every way: transportability, price, the places you can get to, performance, all of those things. And what people don't think about with a kayak versus a boat, and you see this comment all the time, just buy a boat. With a kayak, it's easy to manage. It's like you wear it as a backpack. You're in a kayak to get better maneuverability, access to places other boats can't get. It's kind of funny. It's like when somebody buys a Harley for $20,000, it's because they want that riding experience. They want that handling. They want that control. They want that exhilaration. You don't see people on a motorcycle forum saying, you ought to just buy a damn car. But in the fishing world, you've got so many people that are what I call kayak curious, that they jump on there because it's a novelty, but they don't really do it. So they don't understand the culture. But then they're like, oh, you ought to just buy a boat. And here's the stupidest part of it. So if I put this amount of electronics and this motor and this, and those things all cost the same thing, but the boat is way cheaper, how is it just you should have just bought a boat? Because you still would have to pay the same thing for all the accessories, but the price of the boat is like this different. So to me, it's kind of stupid. And what people don't understand is in many cases, we can afford the better depth finders, the power pole, the motor, all of those things to go on our boat because we didn't spend as much on the boat. Does that make sense? And by virtue of not having a boat payment, maybe you could pick up a couple nice reels, a month, or a nice reel each month. And the other thing that I love about this industry, and I hate at the same time, is when people criticize other people's gear. So, for example, I had some clown the other day say, "Oh, must be nice." And the must be nice thing is where you dismiss somebody else's hard work by assuming that it just must be nice. But then you click on their profile and it shows them out to eat like every night. It's like, dude, you're posting out to eat for dinner every night. Cool. But if you didn't go out to eat 3 nights, 4 nights, you could buy the best reel in the world. And guess what? That meal 2 days later, 3 days, a day later, however regular you are, is in your septic tank or it's in your freaking city sewer. And I still own that reel because I'm willing to live on the cheap. You know what I mean? I don't have the fanciest things outside of the fancy things that I have for fishing because fishing's what I do. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to have the best clothes and I don't have to have the crazy 100-inch TV. And so I just think it's funny when people don't realize that their priorities are the reason they don't have the things that they think they need. You know what I mean? Or that they criticize you for spending your money on and think that it's silly, but yet you spend your money on stupid stuff that's going to turn into a turd in 3 days or 2 days or a day.
Yeah.
You know?
Or $10 coffees. It blows my mind, them guys, $10 coffees, like 2 or 3 every morning. I'm like,
exactly,
dude. But when I started really seriously thinking about kayaks, I was a co-angler for a long time, fished BFLs, Toyotas, but I see so many people with motor problems, breaking props, lower ends, and I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of money. And then trouble with trailer bearings and tires and all that, and I'm like, man, I want something I just want to throw in the truck, go out to the lake, just toss it out and go fishing. Kayak was perfect fit for me.
So Red Crest was here this weekend, and I was over at Gunnersville the weekend before when they were starting to come into town. And I pulled into the gas station that DC pulled into, who's the guy that ultimately won it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I watched him fill up, and I looked at the pump, and he spent $160 between his truck and his boat. And then he did that 3 or 4 times that week. There's my best fishing reel that I own and best fishing rod that I own every time he goes out fishing.
Yep.
There's the difference. You know what I mean?
And luckily he won and made some money, or he'd be way in the hole.
But he's the guy that's going to make it because he's got the sponsors to cover, and he's built a name for himself. But I see guys, dude, I see trucks and boats like that parked in front of mobile homes in Alabama all the time that I think is hilarious, because they've got a $90,000 truck and a $75,000, $80,000, $90,000 boat. And now I might be contradicting what I just said about buy the stuff you love, but in front of like a $6,000 house all the time, like all the time. So when we kayak fish, and back to the Jose question, Jose, look at a bona fide, find a bona fide dealer, pick out a model, and give me a shout. You know, you're an influencer. I can help you, point you in the right direction. But yeah, dude, it's just but unlike the money, all things being equal, it's the experience. And I've said this in a number of videos, and I've said it on a number of podcasts. Every other way that I fish is like fishing in black and white, and fishing from a kayak is like fishing in IMAX 3D. But it's even better than IMAX 3D because it's more like 4D, because you get the water splashed in your face by the fish because you're so close to the boat, and you get, you just see things from a kayak that you don't see other ways. And I'm going to say this, and I'm maybe going to piss some people off, but I am regularly fishing where I'm sitting there and I got fish moving all around me. I could cast at any time and catch a fish on demand, but I'm waiting and I'm looking for the right fish. I'm doing, but a boat comes around the corner. Whoa. And here's the thing that I think that people overlook as boat fishermen more than anything else. Guys that round the corner and are driving to a cove with the wind at their back, then they shut down, whoa, and they send that pressure wave into the pocket. But more importantly, they sit there and they idle in. If you've ever looked at any outboard engine on the market, I don't care if it's the most efficient in the world, when it's idling, it is completely inefficient. It is coughing out. It's coughing out. You see the smoke coming out the back.
Yep.
You see the spit from the cheater pump. So all of that fuel is leaking out of that prop, but you got the wind at your back. So you jump up, you drop your trolling motor down and make a buttload of noise. You just came in on plane, send a pressure wave in, scare all the fish away. And then you stand up and start fishing for a few minutes, and the wind is blowing that oil and fuel that's floated to the surface all the way in, that has created a sheen. Now the bait fish can't filter feed anymore because that stuff's stuck to the top. So the bait fish goes somewhere else. So then the fish goes somewhere else. And I see it happen all the time. But give it 30, 45 minutes where the wind can blow all of that oil to the bank and it clears up again and the boat's gone for a while. Things start to get active again. So shut your damn big motor down 100 yards out, put your trolling motor on and ease in, fish into the wind or into the sun, and you'll catch more fish, even in a boat. But I think that because they're in the boat and they're so used to doing that, they never get to see how active the fish were before they came in there. Yep. So they don't understand that they're shutting them down. So I get this all the time. Having any luck? Yeah, I was before you blew in here on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where you mudded up everything. Mudded up the bank.
I'm like, well, I'll retie some leaders. I'll organize some tackle. And 30 minutes later, the fish are on again. So that's another advantage of the kayak that I don't think we do as good a job of articulating. Is we're less intrusive, less offensive to the fish, and we alert them to our presence less. I can't tell you how many times I put the power pole down on my kayak and I'm sitting there like sending a text or working on the settings on my graph or something, and I look down and there's a fish that's pulled up into my shadow like I'm cover. You know what I mean? It happens all the time. In my life, I have cane poled 2 fish over 10 pounds that pulled into the shadow of my boat. And I'm like, oh, shoot. And I throw the lure out and like raise my rod tip up so that it swings in and they eat it. And I'm like, I set the hook on the rod's length worth the line, and it's like fighting a gorilla in a phone booth. You ain't doing that in a boat ever. So,
yep.
That's the difference, is the experience. So the best analogy that I can give is that it's kind of like motorcycles. People don't buy motorcycles just because of the fuel efficiency. They don't buy them. They buy them for the experience. They buy them for the exhilaration. They buy them for the riding, the experience. That's what we do. So when you post, oh, you ought to just buy a boat, you don't make the person you think you're making look stupid. You make yourself look ignorant, not stupid first. And then when we explain it to you and you keep on, then you make yourself look stupid, because ignorant means you don't know any better. But once you know better and you keep on, it means you're stupid. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing I noticed, like you said, I caught a 4-pounder, and that probably wasn't like 4 foot from the boat on a crankbait. And you don't do that on a boat. I mean, you have to cast, 50, 60 yards. You might get it 30 yards out, but it's like the strike zone shrinks. And another thing I like is you get way up in the shallows where the boats can't. Like at Cedar Creek, like we was talking about before the show, I was going back in the, I mean, even in the kayak, I was like banging around like a pinball machine, but got back in this little pocket, started catching them. I mean, where boats couldn't get.
Yep.
So,
and when it gets low and you're scooting across the top of all that flooded timber that's about that far below the surface, and you know what I'm talking about, and then you come into a little pocket, you can fish the back edge of that submerged tree line. Oh, buzz bait, whopper plopper, top water, throwing frogs over the top of that stuff is deadly.
Yeah, it's like all terrain. Oh, it's like ATV, like all terrain.
Amen.
Yep. But we got a couple of comments gonna run through real quick. My buddy Daniel says, "What's up, Rob?" Hey, Daniel, how's it going, buddy? It did. Jose Cinco says, "Kayak curious is the new term." I like that, man. You have to trademark that. It did. One last one. Daniel says, "Chad, telling it like it is." Absolutely, Daniel. He
only way I know.
He'll put it on it. Yep, he's on it, man. But talk to me a little bit about KBF. Like I said, I just joined a few months ago, and man, the stuff, the benefits, and the tournaments you can get into, the regional and your state. Kind of go through that real quick for the viewers out there that may not know about that.
So, man, for the better part of a decade, I was trying to make KBF the biggest thing in kayak fishing. I was trying to make it the overall sanctioning body. Again, trying to be that guy like Atlas holding up the globe. And then one day, a guy messaged me and said, "Man, I really think you should focus on making KBF the best club in fishing instead of focusing on all of the other clubs in kayak fishing." And I went, holy crap. He's right.
Ding.
We're a club.
Yep.
I actually so think about it like this. Imagine if I worked really hard taking care of somebody else's kids, but I was neglecting my own kids at home. And that's kind of what I was doing. So when I really had that realization and I started rethinking how I was going to do KBF, I said, I'm going to focus on the benefits being the best in the game. And they are. There's not a club close in fishing, in hunting, in the outdoors. I don't know that there's a club in anything where you get the return on investment that you get from what I leverage. And I'll explain the formula. Companies give me a smoking deal to give to the consumer so that they can get the marketing from me without paying for it. So the way I make money is to promote those deals to the consumer so that they save money. They become a member. I monetize and take care of my business that way. The brands don't have to pay me. They pass on the savings to the consumer, and it's truly a win-win-win. Most recently I did a deal like that with Malone Trailers. And, realistically, that would not have been a brand that I would have worked with in the past, not because there's anything wrong with it, but because I've worked my butt off to be at a station in my life where I've got fully welded steel trailers and custom and all this other stuff. But I realized not everybody can do that. So I started looking around for options. I got introduced to them by a gentleman that works with Kayak Angler Magazine. And I said, look, I'll use your trailer as one of the trailers. I'll promote it to my members, but I need a discount for my members that's better than anything they can find anywhere else. And they went to the drawing board and they came back with it. And I was like, that's perfect. After we launched it, one member found one deal better on Walmart than one of the 47 configurations. And I called them and they made our deal better. And they contacted this major retailer that rhymes with Walmart that had the price of their trailer too low. And then they fixed that problem. It's called minimum advertised price.
Yep.
And so we did them a favor by finding that violation. The consumers did a better job of saving than anywhere else. And then my club benefited from it. And we've got those same deals with a number of brand partners and brand sponsors. And so if you make any single purchase, which as fishermen we're going to, for any of the major sponsorships that we have, you're going to make your money back. In addition to that, we do $25 once a quarter to American Legacy Fishing, which, by the way, Pittman is a big supplier of a lot of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good guys.
So American Legacy offers a $25 discount, like a straight $25 off. Ironically, I just used mine because I'm a member as well. I just used mine earlier today to order some Berkeley Power Grubs, some of the new Baby Jack chatterbaits.
Those are hot.
And a couple of other little things that I needed. And I took advantage of the membership benefit myself. And so right there alone is a 4X return on investment of actual stuff that you would. And here's the thing. We're not forcing any generic product or discounted or clearance product down your throat. You're picking what you want. Then I've got deals with missile baits, and I've got deals with Yak Attack, and I've got deals with Kayak Cushion and Rogue Gear. And I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody. But that alone makes it worthwhile. And so then members started reaching out to me saying, hey, it would be cool if we had the regionals again. So we started the conversation, and as a community, we developed the regions. It wasn't me doing it to the community. It was me doing it with the community. And then we developed a state record challenge. And then we developed a Yak Attack piggyback, where if you're fishing in another tournament, you can win prize packages. And a bunch of the fans said, hey, or members or community, whatever you want to call them, said, hey, that piggyback concept's cool, but why does it only apply to people who are already fishing in these big events? Shouldn't it be everything that we do as a club? And I'm like, you know what? That's a way better approach. So I made the Yak Attack piggyback ongoing all month. And we did a missile baits mystery fish. And then we've just got a lot of really cool stuff. I'll give you an example of one that I think is the best deal in fishing. It's called the Torpedo Top 10. It's a leaderboard where you keep up with your top 10 fish for the year. And for the top 10 biggest fish, that person wins a Torpedo. Then I take everybody that has the biggest 10 fish total for their state, and they go into a drawing for a second Torpedo. And then I draw from everybody who enters a fish, even fish that aren't in your top 10 that you enter count as entries. I download those tickets and draw for another Torpedo. So there's three $3,000 prize packages. Plus we have a $5,000 Snake River Manufacturing custom trailer. There's $14,000 worth of prizes that we're giving away for $10 and entering fish. And all you have to do is be a member. So those are the kind of things that I'm like, I'm not worried about the whole world anymore. I'm not worried about the whole country. We're going to do the regional thing to develop the regions. And then we're going to develop the state record concept where we've got a club record. And it doesn't have to be the record for the best fish ever caught in that state. It's the best record for a fish caught in that state by our members. So it's a club record. And so because of that, I think we're going to be able to do some really cool stuff over the course of the next, 2 to 5 years. Not to mention, I'm having some really good conversations with some non-endemic sponsors, with some app people that are launching apps that are going to invest significantly into our space. And my members will be at the front of the line to benefit from that. So, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about it. KBF, or Kayak Bass Fishing, is the best game in town. It's the most fun. It's the lowest barrier to entry. It's the most opportunities available. And even if you're fishing the other stuff, like Bass Nation or All American or any other tournament series out there, you should also be fishing KBF. And if you're not even interested in tournament fishing, you should be just taking pictures of your fish and entering them for chances to win motors and trailers and, mystery prizes and all of these things that we're slowly but surely giving away. For example, we gave away a Lowrance Eagle Eye depth finder last week, and it was based on people who go in and find errors in the fish and do what we call challenging it. And when you challenge the fish, you have an entry into a chance to win. So a guy named Gilbert Garcia out of California had challenged an angler's fish, and I put all of the successful challenges into a pot and did a random drawing, and he won. Well, I went back and looked, and he had challenged like 5 or 6 things, but there were some people that challenged one, and you could just as easily win that way. But what it also does is it creates kind of almost like a way to be involved, even if you're not catching fish. You can just go look at the other fish. I call it fish porn. You can go look at the other fish that people are catching and kind of zoom in and see if you can see the lure, or, just, it's cool to just look at big fish. So that's why the Torpedo Top 10 is pretty cool too, because there are some absolute giants on there, and it's worth going and checking out and saying to yourself, well, maybe I should go fish there for vacation since that guy's catching all these giants. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And another thing I like you did is the video when you release the fish and you video it just as a backup. I think that's off the chain good right there. I like that.
We're literally about to start giving away prizes for that. We're going to call it the Don't Keep It Reel, where you're going to win a fishing reel for posting a reel of releasing your fish. Instead of keeping it, it's the play on words, the Don't Keep It Reel, REEL, for a video reel, for a chance to win a fishing reel. And also, we'll be creating all this content showing that our fish don't die because we catch them, photograph them, and immediately release them.
Yeah, and then that's like a double verification. If somebody has a question, well, there's the video and there's a guy releasing the fish. I mean, it's all right there, man. That's
and it keeps
brilliant,
you from holding on to that fish and trying to take a picture of it later, or even sharing it with a buddy so that they can pull fish to try to beat you.
Yeah. Yep,
exactly.
It's like
it's kind of a thing,
Oh, absolutely, man. But man, we're already 57 minutes in. I want to give you a few minutes to reach out to your sponsors and have the floor for a minute. So anybody you want to thank, floor is yours, Chad.
Honestly, what I would say is this: if you join KBF, kayakbassfishing.com/join, you'll learn about all my sponsors there. You'll get opportunities to save with all of my sponsors there and engage. And other than that, I don't really want to force them down your throat. So head over to kayakbassfishing.com. My biggest sponsor that keeps the lights on when the other sponsors aren't paying on time is me. So go join Kayak Bass Fishing. You'll get a better return on investment from the $25 or $50 membership than anything else you'll spend $25 or $50 on. I guarantee it. And if you don't, you can request your money back. And I've never refused a refund, ever. Yep. So join. It's 100% guarantee. And I think you'll enjoy the community. Like you said, we do a lot of stuff behind closed doors in the KBF members only group. Just gave away like a $70 seat cushion for an ugly seat cushion contest earlier today.
I saw that.
Just got a whole bunch more stuff like that coming. And like I've said in a number of videos, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're just getting started. There's a lot of opportunities coming. And I think you guys are going to, I think the folks that are part of it are going to enjoy it. And if you haven't considered joining, please do. Or if you joined in the past and you thought KBF was going in the wrong direction and you said, screw them, consider taking a look at what we're doing now and coming back.
Absolutely. And real quick, I know I got in on the veterans. Go through your veterans program. I think that's a excellent idea.
For years, people wanted to do a military or veterans membership, so we did. But when we went to this subscription membership, you can't discount subscriptions because part of that goes through Stripe and through the App Store. And so what we did is I sat down and tried to figure out the best way to do it. And ultimately, we created a Homeland Heroes, which is fire, police, military, first responders, all that, teachers, discount membership, where the Homeland Heroes is $25, but you get the benefits of the premium membership. And then the veterans membership is $25, but you get the benefits of the other membership. But I also negotiate extra discounts for the veterans and extra discounts for the Homeland Heroes, so I can send that out specifically to that group. I did 1 or 2 of them so far this year, but I've got 4 or 5 that are like, I'll have you the codes this week, meaning this week, and then I'm going to be sending more stuff out to where here's an additional discount for being a veteran. So first of all, for $25, you get $25 4 times for American Legacy, each quarter. So if you miss the first quarter, you still got 3 left, but you also get deep additional discounts on lots of products above and beyond the standard KBF discount for the sponsors that want to participate in that. So
excellent. That's what I got into, and man, I love it. I mean, I love being a member, and man, you always got lives, you always got something going on, so it's an active community. So hats off to you, sir.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yep. But hey, man, I know you're busy, and we enjoyed having you. Man, I'd like to have you on again, and I'll definitely see you out on the water, and definitely see you in your community.
All right, sounds good. Hey, shoot me a text and let's plan me coming up to that lake you mentioned one time that I don't want to mention again, and we could go out there and smash them. All right, bro.
You got it. You got it, man. Hey, appreciate you, Chad. I'll see you in the community, man. I'll say appreciate everything you do for us.
Likewise, y'all have a good night.
Appreciate All right, good night, man. I'll be in touch with you. See you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you. All right, later.